A lot of times when someone's trying to get more flexible hamstrings, they'll stretch them. But most people don't know that there's something they do every day that with a slight little tweak can help them make consistent gains in their flexibility without any extra work. And for a bonus, that tweak, it also helps my patients who have pain in their back when sitting to be able to sit longer and with more comfort. Before I teach you this simple and profound trick, I have to share with you 2 bits of anatomy so that you can understand why this trick works. To learn those secrets, I had to travel from my home in Northern California all the way to Paris to study with one of the world's leading experts on posture. So anatomically, your hamstrings are made up of 3 individual muscles. All of those muscles start right here on these bones called your ischial tuberosities or sit bones. When most people sit, they're tucking their butt underneath them and they're sitting on the back of these sit bones. That puts a lot of pressure onto the sacrum and also the tailbone. You can see this tailbone's broken off, this coccyx. This position's not very comfortable, but most people have not been taught what I'm about to teach you, so they don't know that there's any other option than sitting this way. Also, it's important to note that in this butt tucked under position when we sit, that your hamstrings, by attaching here, are in a shortened position. And maybe you've heard me say before that what we do repeatedly is who we become. So if you sit with your hamstrings in a shortened position, and you sit for the majority of your day like that, you shouldn't be surprised if you have chronically tight hamstrings. But don't worry, I'm going to help you understand how to change all that. The other bit of anatomy I need to share with you is here at the base of the spine. You see, the spine is made up of building blocks called vertebra. These vertebra are made like building blocks so that the weight of your body can be supported by those blocks in your spine. And for the most part, they're supposed to stack directly on top of each other. But back to the base of the spine. This is your sacrum here, this bone. And this is your L5 and L4 lumbar vertebra. Your L5 lumbar vertebra is unique in that it's wedge-shaped. It's bigger on the front and smaller in the back. And the discs here, L5, S1, and L4, L5, those discs are also wedge-shaped, bigger in the front, smaller in the back. That's different than any of the other vertebral bodies or discs in your body. And you'll understand why that is critical here in a minute. Okay, so how does all this relate to your hamstrings while sitting? Let's take that anatomy and talk through what it usually looks like when someone is seated and how you can tweak on that to sit comfortably without any extra effort and while lengthening your hamstrings. So we said that most people are sitting with their buttocks tucked underneath them, sitting on the back of their ischial tuberosities and putting pressure on their tailbone and their sacrum. I can't wait until you get to try it the other way, because just talking about this, it makes me remember how I used to sit and makes me hurt. So when someone is sitting like that, their hamstrings are shortened, but also their lumbar spine is aiming their spine backwards. This might seem fine if there's a back to your chair, but the problem is with your mid and upper back, you're going to want to interact with the world. So your spine ends up looking like this so that you can interact or see or do whatever you're going to do. And all of those curved points, they all cause point loading and pain in your discs and your back. And they create tension in your back muscles and they irritate your fascia. All of this creates pain. No wonder people are uncomfortable when they're sitting, and they'd be 10 times as uncomfortable if you told them they had to sit on a bleacher or a chair without a back. But it doesn't have to be this way. So how do we fix it? When we go to sit down, we need to get our ischial tuberosities back as far as we can. And I'm going to show you that here in a moment, which means that ideally, we're going to be sitting almost on the front of those ischial tuberosities. That creates a natural, gentle stretch of the hamstrings, but it also sets your sacrum in a very different position. With this positioning of our sacrum and the wedge-shaped anatomy at the base of our spine, you end up with the ability for your spinal bones to stack perfectly on top of each other. Cue the angels singing. When your vertebrae are stacked on top of one another on the axis of gravity, then your muscles stop having to work to hold you up. They go silent, and you almost feel weightless. Quick side note on that part about feeling weightless. I was told that this feeling was possible and our goal by my teacher in Paris, and I've only gotten to it a few times, to that still point. But let me tell you, it was amazing. It's like my whole body went silent. So let me talk you through how I teach my patients to reproduce this posture when they're seated. Make sure you stick around to the end, because I'm going to share 3 key elements that make all the difference when trying to learn this new way to sit. So I've got a few different chairs here. It's not chair specific, it's all about knowing how to use it. It's also true, you can take a Herman Miller fancy Aeron chair. If you don't know how to sit in it, it's not that comfortable. So let's get down to it. So how do we accomplish all that stuff we just talked about when we sit? A few small changes that are gonna make a really big difference. I'm gonna show you on a few different chairs here because it's not chair specific. It's in what you do, which you take with you everywhere. It's really cool. This chair is gonna be a little low for me though, and you'll understand a little bit later when I share the tips with you why that's important. Got a little wedge-shaped cushion here. It doesn't matter that it's soft. Ideally, it'd be more firm than not, and ideally it would be sloping downwards a little bit. But I'll just have that there as I do show you this. You're gonna put your feet about hips width apart so that your legs are vertical, not out like this. And then as I go to sit down, what I'm gonna do is really come backwards with my hips, keeping my spine straight. And as I do this, I should really feel a stretch in my hamstrings. That means that I'm bringing my ischial tuberosities back. And then I'm gonna come down, maintaining that tilt all the way till I get to the bottom. If I've done that, I will feel a little activation and stretch in my hamstrings just sitting here. I will let you know that my teacher in France, what she taught me was that we had perfect posture when we were 1, 2, 3, and then something called postural mimicry takes over, where we look around us at our parents and our teachers and those in our community, and we start to learn all sorts of things from them. But one of the things we learn is posture. And so she said, the bad habits that we've learned, it'll take us the rest of our lives trying to get back to that, what we had when we were 2 and 3. So be patient with yourself as you learn this, but you should feel a little stretch in your hamstrings. A lot of times where I will see, this is about 1/3 of people that I see, when they go to do this, what they do is they round in their back instead of at their hips. This is what rounding at your back looks like. And this is what rounding at your hips looks like. Radically different. This looks like an athlete gonna be up to bat, right? An athlete, football player here, a wrestler, all that stuff. This looks like an old person, which someone can be old at 20 if they are moving like this. So if you're having trouble with this hip hinge, I would go and watch a video or two on how to learn to hinge from your hips instead of from your back. One key that you can look for is that when you are hinging from your hips, the biggest crease is going to be right there at your hips and not at your waist. If you're bending at your waist, all the creases are going to be at your waist. So what we want to do is come back, again, feet about hips width apart, come back, leaning over, keeping our spine straight, but leaning over from our hips, really feel that stretch in our hips, and then slowly come down. Once we're here, we're going to take and relax our belly, drop our chest down, we can reset our shoulder blades back, and then have our neck find a nice position so that our spine is stacked vertically on that axis of gravity. Sometimes when I'm here, if I feel like I need to reset, what I do is I bring my feet around the side, I'll put my hands on top of each other, and then I'm gonna come up off the chair just a little bit and really take and rotate my buttocks backwards, again, finding that stretch in my hamstrings. And then I'm gonna come down, bring my legs back around, and let all that relax. There's a handout I give to my patients. It's a simple 1-page handout that's got the 7 steps that it takes to get here. And to maintain this, I'm gonna put a link to it down below in the show notes so that you can get that as well, help you learn this. It does not matter that I am back against the back of the chair. I can slide with this motion up to the front of the chair just as easily. You're gonna realize that you don't need the back to your chair. When I go to get up from being seated, it's gonna be that same thing. I'm gonna hinge from my hips, keeping my spine straight, and come up that way. When people take and do this to get up, rounding in their back, it gets to be really hard because their center of mass is behind their axis of gravity. So I'm gonna take and just hinge at my hips, keeping my spine straight. I'm gonna show you this real quick using my favorite chair. This is what I have in my office. I'll do it this way. And what I do, this is a saddle stool, and I take and really pull back this way. What you'll realize once you learn to sit like this is that you're freed because you don't need a back to your chair. What's really helping me here, and we're gonna talk about this in a second, is the fact that this is up high enough so that my thighs or the line on my pants is sloping a little bit downwards. That helps to hold my pelvis in that anterior pelvic tilt, which makes a huge difference for maintaining this. Okay, let me teach you 3 tricks to maintain this. The 3 elements to help you. These are gonna seem simple, but they really make a big difference. Tip number 1, it's best to have the seat pan of your chair sloping forwards, or at least be flat. If it's sloping backwards, that's gonna make it really difficult to maintain your pelvis in that anterior pelvic tilt. It's a small change that can really make a big difference. Also, if you have a chair that takes and has the ability for the seat pan to tip back and forth, lock that thing down. A seat pan that is not fixed is really a deal killer for proper seated posture. Tip number 2, you're gonna want your thighs to slope downwards. That's really gonna help you hold your pelvis in that anterior pelvic tilt position by using your biomechanics versus your muscles. Because great seated posture is about being relaxed, not having your muscles work. To achieve that downward sloping of your thighs, this chair won't go any higher. So I basically can't do it on this chair unless I take and add some padded wedges to increase the height there. But I'll show you what I like to do is I use a saddle stool like this, placing myself in the proper alignment. If I'm down here, it feels like I have to maintain contraction of my low back muscles to hold me in this position, because my thighs being parallel to the floor like this are trying to push me into posterior pelvic tilt. But I can take and come up something like this, my feet are still flat on the floor, and then all of a sudden, my muscles get to relax, everything gets to stack properly, and I get to be on that axis of gravity. I'll put a link to where I get my saddle stools down below. In the link, they've really been a game changer for me. And what I've realized is that I don't actually need to have a back to the chair to be comfortable. What a game changer. And finally, tip number 3, and this one is simple, but it can also be a game changer, especially when you're out and about. It has to do with the seat pan of the chair and it being slippery. And I find this a lot of the times on a wooden or a plastic chair. Maybe you're out having to do some work in a place like Starbucks. If the seat pan's too slippery, it makes it so you have to contract your muscles to stop your pelvis from slipping into that posterior pelvic tilt. The fix is simple and cheap. I use a small piece of non-slip drawer liner that I can set down right before I sit, and then it anchors my sit bones right where I put them without me needing to hold the position with my muscles. The trick also works great in your car, especially if you have leather seats and you kind of are sliding. I take and put a small piece of it in my laptop bag. It always lives right here. And I also have it in the door of my car so that whenever I'm driving or out working, that I always have a piece there that can help me. Simple trick, big difference. If you, like many people, have been sitting improperly, putting extra pressure on your tailbone and sacrum, and have ended up with back and SI joint pain, then you might find this video really helpful. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? It just takes a mouse click and then you will be first in line to see my new videos. Until next time, take care.